Welcome along to 98 Layout, the cricket podcast. In today's edition, we've almost got like a Zoom conference call. I've got three very special guests joining me today. Remember, if you like this content, tell your friends, give it a like, subscribe, spread the word, and let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to 98 Layout. Today, I've got someone I've been trying to get on the show for a long time, so it's a bit of a personal pleasure to have him. So first of all, welcome to Geoff Miller, former England player, selector, Derbyshire and Essex legend. Morning to you, Geoff.
Darren, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks very much. Good morning to you too.
Also, we've got Richard Bowditch from the Tom Bowditch Foundation. We'll be talking about the great work and the great charity that he represents. Morning to you, Richard.
Good morning, Darren, and thank you very much for having me on.
And finally, from Synonymous, formerly, if you were ever hanging around the Essex County ground, there was always a man in a sharp suit and a nice shiny name tag coming up and asking you to get involved at Essex. He's now going off on his own very successfully. Daryl Fox from Synonymous joins us. Morning, Daryl.
Morning, Darren. I don't think anyone's ever said I've had a sharp suit before, so very much appreciate the compliments.
It always had the price tag still on it, though, which I could never work out. It was always
it wasn't a lot. So.
Geoff, let's start with you. Famously described by Simon Hughes as the last man to field a slip with a whoopie cushion up his jumper.
Yeah. What do you want? In an explanation? Is that what you want?
Oh, if you want.
Well, I'll tell you exactly what happened. It was at Scarborough, and I think it was known in those days. You could need to do your checkup on this. I think it was the Tilcon Trophy. And what happened was Yorkshire played another county on the Thursday, and then Lancashire played another county on the Friday, and the two winning teams played the final on the Saturday. I think that's what it was. Well, Essex played Yorkshire on the Thursday and won. So the frightening situation was that Essex had got the day off for the next game, right? It's at Scarborough. So you can imagine what was going off there with the lunacy of Essex changing room having a day off in Scarborough. So the normal happened. We went down to the beach and such like, and they had the odd bevy and such like. Went into the joke shop, and we bought a little bit of itching powder, and we bought a whoopee cushion. And on the last day, the finals day, which was against Lancashire, because Lancashire won, we nipped into the umpire's room and put a lot of itching powder in Dickie Bird's shirt and whatever before he went out to umpire. And when we fielded first, and I took the whoopee cushion with me and stood at first slip. And when J.K. Lever ran into bowl, I needed to wait a while because it had to be personal, this, and it had to be against Clive Hubert Lloyd. Oh. So as Lever ran into bowl, he got to the delivery stride. I'd got the whoopee cushion underneath my arm, such as that, and I let it go. And Clive backed away and looked at me, and I just said, "Day off yesterday, Clive. Long day and long night. Sorry about that one. I do apologise." And that's all it was, really. So that's the whoopee cushion, and it was because we had a day off at Scarborough. The Essex boys had a day off at Scarborough.
Yeah, Scarborough's quite. I've been to Scarborough. It's quite a place. Oh, a big hotel on the top of
fantastic cricket.
Yeah. No, super. But on a serious note, I mean, 34 Test matches, 25 ODIs.
Yeah.
Played county cricket for Derbyshire and Essex, and eventually an England selector. But the thing that really caught my eye from your playing days, you never scored a Test century, but. No. And this will put you in the 98 not out Hall of Fame. You twice scored 98 not out in a Test match.
Not once. Once 98 not out. Once 98 out.
Oh, was it once?
Yeah.
Against Pakistan, was it?
I got 98 not out against Pakistan at Lahore. And then I got 98 against India at home again at Old Trafford.
Wow. Amazing.
at the time, there wasn't a lot of disappointment by me because there were just one game. I think both games were draws actually, but one game created the draw, and the second one was just part and parcel of a draw. When I'm saying that, we needed a big innings in Lahore to actually save the game. So my big innings of I classed it as a big innings of 98, saved the game for us. So that was vital. The 98 at India at Old Trafford against India, with my mate Botham at the other end, getting, I don't know, we got about 180 or something like that. But that was just part and parcel of a pretty dismal draw. So, but at the time, I thought nothing more about it. As time's gone on, the disappointment starts to actually rise. You think to yourself, if only I could have been known as a person who scored 100 for my country. But move on.
You did have a habit of featuring in draws, though, because the other thing that I do my research on this.
Yeah, well done.
MCG 1982, where classic Ashes Test match where Australia were battling away, and that famous moment. Now, you mentioned both of them bowling at Jeff Thompson, who edges slip. Chris Tavare goes for it, spoons it. But Dusty Miller there manages to grab the rebound.
There's a long story. There's a long story to this, Darren. When I say a long story, it won't take you too long. We're getting into the last day. I think they wanted 70 or nearly 80 to win with those last two in. And it came. And I don't think Both had a ball. And we took the new ball, and Both insisted to, as we knew him, the Goose, Bob Willis, God bless him, that he should have a bowl. But Bob Taylor was keeping wicket. And he had said, look, they only need, and I think at that stage they needed about 10 to win, having wanted 70 odd. He said, it's a low bounce, in which it was a low pitch, low surface. He said, we've got to make sure it carries. If we drop it, we drop it. We've got to make sure it carries. So he went in 2 yards, Bob Taylor. Tav was fielding at second slip, so he went in 2 yards, and I went in 1 yard. The normal slip cordon. So when Tomo nicked the ball, Tav was like 2 yards closer, and don't forget it was a new ball as well, 2 yards closer than he normally would have been. So it hit him very quickly, and I think the fortune of it was the fact, and this is how the difference between losing and winning a test match is, the ball went through his hands quickly and clipped him on the shoulder. Okay? So then it just bounced up, and I just turned around and, just walked behind him and caught the catch, won the game. If the ball had been 2 inches higher, it would have gone through his hands, over his shoulder, for Australia win. So the closeness of an inch or 2 inches made the difference between winning and losing a test match at Melbourne.
Amazing, and you've mentioned some of the names. I mean, for me, when I was a young lad, really sort of getting into cricket around about that time. Those names: Bob Taylor, Bob Willis, Botham, yourself, Graham Gooch as well, to maintain the Essex connection. And it was a glorious time to be getting into cricket. Every nation seemed to have a superstar.
Well, they still, listen, Darren, they still do. The game moves on. You have quality players, you have great players of all eras. And the sad thing about it sometimes is the older eras don't appreciate how great the modern eras are. Okay, there are great players, quality players in this era now. But there were then, and they were top quality players, There's some great bowlers, he played against the West Indies.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Well, it was full on. We had pretty full on. But you had Tomo and Dennis Lilly as well, So wherever you went, Imran Khan, you got real quality. But there's still quality now. The game's different. We might come on to this a little bit later on. The game is different now. But at that stage, every team you played against was a challenge. Every international team, there was no walk, because bearing in mind there was no, at that stage, there was no Sri Lanka, there was no Bangladesh, there wasn't even a South Africa at that time.
No.
You know, so the teams were quality teams with quality players. Yeah, all sides.
I think the one thing for me that's really changed from then and now is just tour. And I know the world has changed, etc. But touring, when you used to get teams coming over here, or vice versa, when England went abroad, the tours were much longer.
Tours.
Yeah, that's right.
Tours were tours. Yeah.
And you played. I can remember going to my first trip out to watch cricket in the West Indies. I can remember watching England playing Barbados at a surprisingly full Kensington Oval. I was quite taken by the level of interest locally.
Yeah.
For a tour match, it wasn't even a test. It's a shame we don't get that. And similarly, when teams would come here, they play all the counties and go around the country.
There are different forms of the game now, Darren. That's the problem, and the time becomes a factor as well. Now, you'd go on tour to Australia and you'd do a 4 / 5 month tour, but that tour, each test match venue, say for argument's sake, you were playing Sydney, test match in Sydney, like a fortnight before that, you played the state game against South Australia. Okay, and then when you'd played the state game, you went up country for 2 days to play an up country game, or somewhere miles out the way, and then came back and then played the test match there. So you're in that part of the nation for 2-3 weeks, playing different and promoting the game of cricket in the lesser areas. That is not available now because of the time factor and what else goes on, as well as just the test matches. We've got. I'm not sure I agree with that. I'm not involved in the world of cricket now to that extent, but I find it really strange to have a test series against Australia in 2 months. Is it in 2 months?
Maybe not even.
I don't see how that can. You're trying to promote the game of cricket, and I don't see how that promotes the game of cricket. Because it just squeezes it. I see.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think
that becomes. There'll be reasons for it, and I'm sure there are reasons for it. And I'm not in the official rooms now to the discussion of why the reason is for it, but I'm sure there are. But I think those reasons have got to be related to the public and explain why. I mean, I think they have done because of other forms of the game.
Yeah, that's right.
To appease other forms of the game, have to appease the kind of spectator who wants to watch that. Not all spectators, the younger element now, want to watch time cricket. I'd call it time cricket. They want to watch rapid cricket.
Yeah. Yeah, my 17-year-old daughter said to me last night that she and her school friends, she was asking me about getting tickets for a 100 game. Now that's from someone who's never shown any interest at all in any other sorts of cricket, but is quite able to go along to that, which I guess is what they're aiming at. But that's for another discussion. But the Ashes is fast bearing down upon us, and we're all excited.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I've got all three of you gents on today is to talk about this fundraising effort, and in particular the pre-Ashes dinner. So Foxy, do you want to just tell us first of all about this event and when it is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got the privilege of having a lovely lunch in the Lord's Long Room on Thursday, the 22nd of June, raising some money for Graham Gooch's scholarship, but also Richard's amazing charity, which I'm sure he'll give you some more details and a little about what they do shortly. But it's going to be a superb event. We've got Geoff with us. We've also got Jeff Thompson with us, Tomo as well, coming over from Australia. Graham Gooch is going to be on hand to say hello to guests on arrival. And we've also got Chris Caldray sort of running the proceedings and hosting the event as well. So we're super excited about it. If anyone's not been in the Long Room before, it is an incredible room. I know you've experienced it, Darren, before. It's a special place. fabulous food, fabulous wine, and most importantly, gives us a good opportunity to raise some money for two great charities.
And it's not just the experience of being in the long room. I mean, just going into the pavilion at Lord's, just walking through those doors and up those main entrance steps and seeing the paintings, walking into the long room bar, gazing out through the gates. Geoff, what was it like as a player to go through the long room in a test match?
I think I'd probably go differently to everybody else, actually, because I'd go through in silence and come back in silence. So to eventually to walk out to bat through, be in the changing rooms at Lord's, and you look in the changing room and you think, who's been in here? Who's been in this changing room?
Mm.
So it's a great chance to get inside the pavilion at Lord's for nothing else. But of course, the main reason is to support, as Daryl said, two great charities, and one of them being the Tom is it Bowditch or Bowditch, Richard?
Bowditch, as in
Bowditch.
bow and arrow.
Okay.
Bow and arrow.
That's
Don't worry,
right.
you're in a steam company.
So, well, I am on this call, definitely.
Yeah.
So, just tell us. So, it's something that was started by your son Tom, hence the name. Just give us a little bit of background detail onto what it's all about.
Sure. Thanks, Darren. And first of all, I mean, I've got to publicly thank Daryl for setting this up, getting us involved. Daryl and I have been friends for too many years we care to mention, but to see Daryl making such a success of his business is fantastic, and for us to be engaged as a charity partner is superb. And when we had our ball, and he said, I can give you this to put into the auction, and it was snapped up, was brilliant. The only bit I'm really gutted about is I'm on holiday, so I can't be there. So I can't. You're saying how wonderful the long room is. I'll be driving across France on the way to Switzerland. But so the Tom Bowditch Youth Cancer Foundation, I chair it. It was very much Tom's vision. Tom in 2012 was diagnosed at the age of 18, a couple of weeks away from going to university. Basically, his mum and I got the worst message you could ever ask for as a parent, which is your son has got, or your child has got cancer. And at the time, he was being treated initially looked after in Colchester Hospital, and a wonderful, wonderful place and wonderful staff, but they couldn't tell what type of cancer it was. And in the end, he was transferred to a teenage cancer facility at UCLH in London. And keeping the cricket linkage going, his consultant was a fantastic consultant by the name of Sandra Strauss, Andrew's sister.
Oh, wow.
So she absolutely phenomenal. But basically, Tom had something called a desmoplastic small round cell sarcoma, which is a very rare and aggressive form of cancer in his pelvic area and peritoneum. And at the time, there were 2 recorded cases in the country and around about 200 in the world. So very rare. And we found out latterly that they hadn't actually expected him to last until that Christmas. So September 2013 for the diagnosis. And he actually then passed away October 2013. So we're coming up to our 10th anniversary this year of Tom's passing this October. Just as we were coming back from London one day, Tom had been just given his terminal diagnosis, and we were coming down the slip road at Brentwood off the M25, and he said, "I'm not ready to go yet. There's too much I want to do, and this is what I want to do." And he set out the founding principles of the foundation. Now, he never actually saw it come to fruition, but Nikki and I felt that it was the right thing to do to fulfill his wish and his vision, because he said, I'm not going to go to university. I'm not going to go into work. I'm going to set up a charity, and it's going to do this, this, and this. And what he'd recognized was the fact there are some fantastic charities out there. But when you are a teenager, young adult, and by that I mean 13 to 24, there's nothing really joined up. And I think that's true of a lot of situations with the cancer diagnosis. He was looked after in fantastic facilities up in London for his chemo. But when he was back home in Colchester, he went into Colchester Hospital. As I say, fantastic people, but the facilities were not geared up for teenagers and young adults. And it's no, I don't want a cup of tea at blooming 7 o'clock in the blooming morning, and what's your Wi-Fi code? What do you mean you haven't got any Wi-Fi? And why is my dad sleeping on the floor? And so they were sort of just really hamstrung by their facilities. So we've worked very closely over the years with a number of hospitals at Colchester, first off, where we have put in what we call age-appropriate facilities. So they've got a comfortable bed, they've got a bed for a parent, partner, or relation to stay with them, or even sometimes their children if they've of a certain older and have small families. And the graphics are nice, and it just makes it a little bit more of a comfortable location for them to be treated in, or to be looked after if they've got an infection or anything like that, matched up with their teenage facility elsewhere. We've also done that in Sheffield, London, and also in Rickmansworth. So we've got a number of facilities. The other one is research. We couldn't establish that there's any research funding going into treatments for teenage and young adult cancers, and so we fund a research project that basically is looking at trying to reduce chemotherapy, because chemotherapy is aggressive and can cause a lot of long-term organ damage. Tom was treated with a derivative of mustard gas, for example, which he thought was cool, but it's horrible. And so we're funding a research project that looks into non-chemotherapy treatments. And then the final bit is what we call care support for these young people. And it was particularly critical during the recent lockdown, where we have young people that need to stay in isolation. They want to carry on with their studies. They want to stay in contact with their friends. So we're providing mobile phones, laptops, iPads, and the like. But also, because they can't use public transport, we're often having to fund transport costs as well, because the cost of living crisis that we're going through at the moment, people are often having to give up their jobs to look after their children, and they're looking they're looking to keep even a roof over their house. So we've paid rent, and we've paid travel costs, and we paid some purchase white goods, etc., for people. So it's an overarching charity that does those three aspects, and it's been going, just coming out for 10 years. 10 years, and next anniversary is February next year, and which is when we have Tom's birthday and our annual ball at Braxton Park, 2nd of March, quick plug. And we will be celebrating the fact that we've raised just under 2 million quid by then.
That's amazing.
In the 10 years we're going. So it's been hard work, but it's hopefully what Tom's vision was.
Go on, you've mentioned that. Give us some more detail about this ball so that people can get planning.
Well, we call it the feather ball, and the reason we call it the feather ball is just as Tom died, he was on the 12th floor of the hospital in London, and a white feather came up to the window, went along the window, and then went up away from us rather than down. And so the logo of the foundation is a feather. And so we said we want to have a ball to celebrate Tom's birthday, celebrate the founding of the charity. So that's held at Braxton Park on the 2nd of March next year. It'll be our 10th anniversary and what should have been Tom's 30th. So it's going to be a big, big celebration. So if you people are interested, go on to www.tombodigefoundation.org and they can find details. Darren, you've got my contact details, so if people want to contact you, pass them on. And tickets are around about £70 a head. We try and keep the cost of being there as low as possible, so that people have as much opportunity to support us through the auction, through the tombola, and whatever other secret entertainment we have on the night. We always have a theme, and it's always a surprise. So yeah, we're already about half sold. So we can take about 300 people maximum, but we're probably about halfway there already.
That sounds like a fantastic event. So yes,
always keen on anyone that wants to sponsor anything. So sponsorship is a critical part as well, because it defrays the cost of putting such a big event on.
Well, I'll include all the links to the details when I post this.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, if people, I would urge people, this is a fantastic cause, so get involved, whether it's to sponsor it or even to just turn up on the night, get a few friends, get a table together, and be having great fun for a good cause. Absolutely. And likewise at Lord's on, is it 22nd of June?
22nd, yeah, 22nd of June. We're pretty much sold out. We've got 200 people in the room. I think we've got 8 places left, or possibly a table of 10. And if people do want to come along, they would be more than welcome. I'll send you the link, Darren, but the website is becomesynonymous.com, and you should be able to see all the details on there. And we're going to be proudly working with Richard at a further event at Braxton Park as well, to hopefully raise some more money for the great charity as well. So we've got an evening with Harry Redknapp.
Who's our patron?
Yeah, on the Thursday, the 9th of November, 2023.
Fantastic. So it sounds like you both of you are going great guns on what you're doing. And I congratulate
it's tough, to be honest, Darren. It's tough. Fundraising is really tough at the moment, and anyone that wants to support us, please do. Every penny goes to supporting the young people, and of which there are 7 a day diagnosed in the UK with cancer between the ages of 13 and 24. So that puts it in perspective of just how many people are affected by this terrible disease.
Yeah, it is. It is. My sort of life has been affected incredibly the last few years by friends and relatives succumbing, and it's quite a horrible experience. Sort of, despite all the best intentions. So it is important to do things such as your foundation is doing to basically,
thank you,
support people, support those around them, because it is just the most unpleasant and horrific of circumstances.
Absolutely.
So,
but we've got so many opportunities for people to support us, whether it be the Ashes lunch, which I would say now cannot thank Daryl enough for putting us forward for that. That's superb, and really so excited. And we've got mud runs, we've got golf days, we've got duck races, all sorts going on. So there's opportunities for people to support us however they may wish to do so.
Okay, brilliant. Well, we'll put all the details when we put this on the YouTube thing in the description. It will all be on there. It will be on the podcast as well. So we would urge everyone to support these fantastic events. And as you say, Richard, it's a crowded space charity at the moment, and with the cost of living crisis. But as you rightly point out, every penny does help. So I would urge, even if you some small change in the bottom of your pocket or whatever, it all goes to help. Never underestimate the importance of contributing. We'll wrap it up there, guys. Many thanks for joining us. Remember, support the Tom Bowditch Foundation. Support the pre-Ashes dinner at Lord's on the 22nd of June. It's going to be a fantastic event. And also the Feather Ball, which is next March. Get it in your diary, get some tickets bought, get a table, round your friends up, and tell your boss to sponsor it on behalf of the company. So it'll all be good.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, great fun talking to you all this morning.
Likewise.
Thanks for your time. And we will update on progress in the near future.